Okay, picture this. You sit down to study, you look at the textbook, and suddenly cleaning your entire room feels like a life or death mission. If that sounds familiar, then stick with me, because you're about to find out not only why that happens, but how to finally break free from it. All right, so let's really walk through this moment. Your intention? It's totally pure. You've actually carved out the time. You've sat down at your desk. You've opened the book. I mean, everything is perfectly in place. You've taken that first step. And then, bam, it hits you. That feeling, the sheer size of the task. It's not just a chapter anymore, is it? It feels like a mountain. And just like that, the simple idea of studying, it just morphs into this massive, overwhelming wall right in front of you. And your brain? It immediately starts scanning for an escape hatch. You know that sudden, urgent feeling to do literally anything else? Sweep the floor, organize your pens by color, check that one tiny notification on your phone? It feels so critical, doesn't it? Almost like it's more important than the work you're supposed to be doing. So, you tell yourself that little lie. You know the one. We've all told it to ourselves. I'll just check this one thing. It'll only take like 5 minutes, and then I'll get started. You frame it as this harmless little break, right? Just before the real work begins. But we both know how this goes. 5 minutes, it bleeds into 30. 30 minutes turns into a full hour. And before you even realize what's happened, 3 hours have just finished. The day feels wasted, and all you're left with is this heavy blanket of stress and guilt because you never even got started. And at the end of a day like that, you probably think to yourself, I'm just lazy. But what if I told you that your brain is actually doing exactly what it's designed to do? That you are not the problem. I want you to hear this. You are not lazy. What you're experiencing is a very real, very predictable psychological trap. It's called initiation resistance. Now, this is not a character flaw. This is a brain function. Your brain is literally hardwired to conserve energy, so it will try to avoid anything it sees as a massive energy drain. And here's the part that no one ever really tells you. You're not actually avoiding the work itself. You're avoiding the feeling of the work. When you think, okay, I have to study this for the next 3 hours, your brain, it runs this instant, super complex calculation on just how much energy that's going to take. And that number it comes up with, it's so massive that your brain just panics. It flags the whole task as a major threat to its energy reserves and slams on the emergency brake. It's like a giant error sign flashes, and it starts desperately looking for the nearest, easiest escape route. So, that feeling of hitting a solid brick wall the instant you try to start something big, that is initiation resistance. It's a real, almost physical barrier that your brain puts up to protect you from what it thinks is a huge energy expense. You can actually think about it in terms of basic physics. Remember inertia? An object at rest tends to stay at rest. Well, your brain is kind of the same. It's literally designed to save energy by taking the path of least resistance. It wants to stay at rest. So, okay, if our brains are hardwired to do this, how does anyone ever get anything done? How do we hack this system? Well, the secret isn't about trying to find more willpower or being more disciplined. No, it's about being smarter than your own brain. And the answer, it comes from this really powerful concept from Japanese philosophy. It's something that huge industries have used to get incredible results. And it's called Kaizen. So what is Kaizen? Simply put, it's the philosophy of continuous improvement through really small incremental changes. We're not talking about massive, stressful overhauls here. We're talking about tiny, almost invisible steps that you take over and over again. And this philosophy, it gives us the perfect tool to beat procrastination. And that tool is called the 2-minute rule. And this is the part you've been waiting for, because this simple trick requires basically zero willpower, and it can actually trick your brain into wanting to do hard things. Yes, the solution, it really is that simple. Okay, here's exactly how it works. Step 1, pick a task you've been avoiding. You know the one. Step 2, commit to doing it for only 2 minutes. And step 3, and listen, this is the most important part. You have to give yourself complete and total permission to stop the second that timer goes off. No strings attached. So instead of the goal being, oh, I have to read this entire chapter, your new goal is, I'm just going to open the book and read one single paragraph. That's it. That is the entire task. Now I know, this sounds almost Ridiculously simple, right? But here's why it works. Your brain panics at a massive 3-hour task, but it has absolutely zero fear of a little 2-minute task. You're making the barrier to entry so incredibly low that you completely bypass your brain's alarm system. You just start the timer, and just like that, you've conquered the hardest part of any task, just getting started, and you've made it totally effortless. But the real magic? Well, that happens next, because once you start, you almost never stop after just 2 minutes. And if you miss why that happens, you miss everything. Let's go back to our physics metaphor for a second, because just like an object at rest tends to stay at rest, well, Newton's first law also says an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Once you've taken that tiny first step, physics itself starts working for you. So, the timer goes off, the 2 minutes are up. You have full permission to stop. But something has shifted, hasn't it? You've already read one paragraph, and you think, why not just one more? Momentum has taken over. Your brain was tricked into starting, and now momentum is doing all the heavy lifting. And this is how you get to the ultimate goal, what psychologists call the flow state. You know, that state of deep, effortless focus where time just seems to disappear. The crazy thing is, you didn't have to force your way in. You just cracked open a tiny door, and momentum carried you the rest of the way. All right, so here's your challenge, your micro shift for today. As soon as this is over, I want you to pick that one thing you've been avoiding the most. Set a timer on your phone for exactly 2 minutes. Give yourself that full permission to quit when it goes off. And then, just see what happens. Remember this, building an elite mindset isn't about some superhuman motivation. It's about building smart, frictionless systems that work with your brain, not against it. So the only question left is, what 2-minute task are you going to start today? Because it's the small habits that create elite results.